Thanks for tuning in to Bitches Be Cray. Just a quick reminder, everything we share on this show reflects our personal experiences and what's worked for us. We're not healthcare professionals, so if you or someone you know is dealing with a medical or mental health concern, please reach out to a qualified professional for support. What's up, bitches? Welcome to Bitches Be Cray. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Nancy. And today we're going to be talking about Amanda's, I don't know what mental diagnosis. I don't even know what to
My
call
mental
it.
health.
Amanda's mental health.
I've been going around saying all the time I have a disorder. I mean, it's
She
true. And
does.
now I'm just like, I have a disorder. And now my son, he was actually here this weekend. And I can't remember what it was, but I was like, oh, I did XYZ. Or maybe my husband said I did. And then my son was like, well, yeah, you do have a disorder. So it's funny. Like, it's like a little joke now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a joke before, but now it's
Now it's
proven.
validated. Yeah, it's official.
Yay. Like we needed that.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you want to go ahead and talk about your diagnosis? Not your diagnosis, but like your symptoms and I guess, yeah, the diagnosis, like I would say, and then I could ask a couple questions. Because it's gonna be, guys, we're gonna do something different where I'm gonna be doing like a little interview process.
Yeah, so I guess based on how you just said that, the whole reason like this kind of started this journey, this mental health journey, like leading to diagnosis anyway, was because I started going to therapy. And I started going to therapy because I'm like, I think I have anxiety. Like my grandmother, actually later in her life, I don't know if she was officially diagnosed with anxiety, but I believe so. I mean, she went to see a psychologist. She ended up being on medication. She wasn't getting any therapy, which is what I had really intended for her to do when I was trying to help her figure out why she was feeling so anxious. But years later, fast forward years later, and like things would happen here and there where I would find I'm like really overanalyzing everything. I'm really overthinking everything. I'm worried about things that are truly out of my control. Like I think I've mentioned before, and I know you know, Nancy, like traveling, like being on an airplane, getting on an elevator. Actually, I don't know if you know this about me, but it came up today, so I'll share it with you. I don't even like going in like parking garages. It's something about, I have like anxiety around being in enclosed spaces, especially ones that have multiple levels or
Yeah.
layers. Like I'm always afraid something's going to happen. So I'm just like, it wasn't so much that it was like impacting my life that I couldn't function and be a happy, healthy person. But I also realized, like talking to my friends, even to you sometimes, and I know you and I feel like we have some similar, I guess we'll call it symptoms to about things, but I just started to notice like everyone's not like this worked up about things the way I am. And I'm like, I think something's, I don't think I should be thinking about this on a thought loop like a week after it happened when I could do nothing
Yeah.
about it. Like it's already happened, right? Like little things anyway. So then I started therapy. And I started therapy by saying to my therapist, like, hey, I'm here because I have anxiety, blah, 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 or I feel like I have anxiety. And then at some point, a few sessions in, she was like, have you ever considered maybe you have ADHD? Because a lot of those things you're talking about kind of sound like that. And there can be a lot of crossover. And also, maybe I do have anxiety, but maybe I have some I don't know if we call it untreated, like things I'm not working on with ADHD that would then lead to anxiety. So maybe it wasn't even anxiety, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
it was manifesting from ADHD.
I wanted to point out earlier. Me and Amanda have been crazy together since '09. so,
Oh, yeah.
so the things that we use to validate are just insane. The things that we thought were normal, like the things that we've been doing that are normal, the thoughts that we've had, the conversations that we had before we started working on ourselves that we really thought that's fucking normal. And one day when I started, because I started like I guess my healing journey a little before Amanda, and I would be like, man, this bitch is crazy. Like I think I said it in another episode. I'm like, how do I tell her? How do I fucking tell her that we're crazy? Thank God you noticed. But I just
Yeah.
feel like it's so weird how you don't notice things, and then until you do notice them, you're like, oh my god, like
Well, and maybe some of that is if you like think back to friends you had before me, like you, because you went over in an episode about like ending toxic friendships. Like,
mhm.
so it's not like there was even someone else in your life, at least, that was quote unquote normal. So you're
No.
probably like, yeah, okay, this is cool. This is normal. Like, especially I'm thinking when you say like we're both validating each other's crazy, like I specifically think two things come to mind for me with that. And that is stuff around food.
Yeah, we did. That was our whole relationship.
Yep. And I think we validated each other around our romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And I think for me, there might have been a moment where I thought, oh, I'm a little extreme. I'm a little too jealous. I'm a little whatever. But I didn't really, when I had like my first boyfriend around the time I should notice other quote unquote normal people, I wasn't really hanging out with friends anymore. So
Yeah.
it's not like I even had it's like I didn't have anyone to be like comparing myself to feel like, oh, I'm being too much because I'm like, I don't know, I don't even hang out with people. And then, or if I did, they didn't have a boyfriend. So it's like I couldn't really gauge if my behavior was appropriate. And then, when I met you and I'm like, you were exhibiting and doing some similar things to me, I'm like, okay, no, so I'm totally cool and normal
This
because
is this
Nancy's
is
over here.
normal. Look at her. Look at her.
Yep. Then we had like, right, an example, a true example in each other. Like, no, we're good.
That's normal. And now looking back to, because I don't have a diagnosis, I do want one, but I probably anyway. Looking back to now that I'm on an anxiety medication, it makes me wonder how many things are real and how many things were anxiety based.
Okay.
Like what was real?
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, is the medication you're on specifically for anxiety, or does it also treat like depression as well? Or is it like,
Yeah, it's because I was diagnosed with aggressive anxiety.
oh, that's what the person told you? Okay.
Yeah, it said aggressive anxiety
Okay.
and moderate depression. So it's Lexapro, and it's specifically for with people with OCD, the OCPD, whatever, and ADHD disorders. So it helps people with those disorders regulate. I guess it releases like a little bit of serotonin. What is not is
Hmm.
it serotonin or no, it's the other one,
Dopamine?
dopamine.
Serotonin and dopamine?
Yeah, a
Okay.
little bit.
Yeah.
So it calms it down, and I've noticed a big difference. So now I'm thinking like in our lives, is anything even fucking real? Everything we've did before, like
Yeah.
like everything was anxiety basically doing it.
Right. It's like when you get things toned down,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like you start seeing like you said, you start seeing everything differently and it's like, okay, did that really happen or did like I
yeah,
made that happen in my mind.
yeah. Because I was so like we were so
Oh.
fucked up. So it's like now when you have the tools to like help yourself, it's like was any of that really that important?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Who the fuck knows? We'll never know.
Yep, we'll never know.
Let's get into it, bitch.
All right. So my official diagnosis, I have three. Yay me. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, of course, also known as ADHD. Predominantly hyperactive, impulsive presentation, and they noted it was mild. So yay me. At least it's a mild. Um, the other thing I have, obsessive compulsive personality disorder, and that is not the same as OCD, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And then finally, generalized anxiety disorder, also noted as mild. And there's also a note, by the way, I have like a 17-page report, but there's also a note that basically was saying that, hold on, let me find it exactly. It says, of note, the likely influence of the unaddressed ADHD in combination with OCPD personality, as well as my sensory sensitivities, because I got some of those too, are likely the symptoms. Are likely the symptoms that influence the anxiety disorder. But before Nancy asks me some questions, just in case you're someone out there wondering, I mean, I feel like a lot of people know about ADHD for sure. I think it's like the buzzword right now. And of course, anxiety's been around forever. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, I did not know much about, but I think just in the interest of a little bit of information, I'll read what the symptoms are from these things from some reputable sources like the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic. Okay. So adult, and these are specific, these ADHD symptoms I'm going to share, it's like adult ADHD symptoms because it may present different in a child, but impulsiveness, disorganization, and problems prioritizing, poor time management skills, problems focusing on a task, trouble multitasking, excessive activity or restlessness. I say that as I'm literally bouncing my leg right now. Poor planning, low frustration tolerance, frequent mood swings, problems following through and completing tasks, hot temper, and trouble coping with stress. So, those are the symptoms of an adult with ADHD according to the Mayo Clinic. Nancy, you feel any connection there?
You know what's funny?
What?
I used to shake my legs. I don't know if you ever noticed all the time.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on, I don't.
Okay, so it's kind of cut that energy
I
out.
didn't even notice. I don't do it anymore. I used to do it. I used to be shaking my legs all the time when I was sitting at my desk, when I was not when I was driving, but if somebody else was driving. When I was, if I would go to dinner, if I would go to lunch, like I would just be there shaking my legs. I don't do that anymore. So,
Wow. All right.
well, I'm meditating also.
Right. So that's interesting though how you can even see it in your physical
Yeah,
stuff, you know?
yeah, I do relate to that shit. Okay.
Cool. All right, here's the symptoms of someone with obsessive compulsive personality disorder, also known as OCPD. This is from the Cleveland Clinic. It says they may be preoccupied with and insist on details, rules, lists, order, and organization, have perfectionism that interferes with completing tasks, have excessive devotion to work and productivity. These results in neglecting hobbies and spending less time with loved ones, have excessive doubt and indecisiveness, use extreme caution to avoid what they perceive to be failure, be rigid and stubborn in their beliefs and ways of doing things, be unwilling to compromise. I feel like we've talked about that a time or two on this podcast. Be willing to throw out or be unwilling to throw out broken or worthless objects even if they have no sentimental value. Have difficulty working with others or delegating tasks unless they agree to do things exactly as the person wants, frequently becoming overly fixated on a single idea, task, or belief, perceive everything as black or white, have difficulty coping with criticism, and over focus on flaws in other people. And I guess on here, it just kind of mentioned also how, you know, as I mentioned a minute ago, that it's not the same as OCD, that OCD is an anxiety disorder, and this is a OCPD is a personality disorder. And of course, if you know anything about OCD, you know a lot of rituals, lots of I've got to do this so I can be safe, or someone I love can be safe. It's more around the anxiety, so it is different. It just sounds similar. Anything you want to note about OCPD before I read the anxiety signs and symptoms?
I will say that out of all the personality disorders, that's probably the best one to get
I mean, yeah,
because it makes you an overachiever.
that is,
You know?
yeah, that's pretty true, right? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, out of all of them, like, yeah, if I was gonna have a personality disorder, I would want it to be
Yeah,
that
give me that one. No, I get it, right? Because at least
one.
it feels like it can lead you to something good,
Yeah, yeah, it's because you always like do a bunch of shit, so it's because of this.
right?
It's your trauma.
Yay, trauma. It's helping. Okay. And finally, from the Mayo Clinic, the signs and symptoms of anxiety: feeling nervous, restless, or tense, having a sense of impending danger, panic, or doom, having an increased heart rate, breathing rapidly, sweating, trembling, feeling weak or tired, trouble concentrating or thinking about anything other than the present worry, having trouble sleeping, experiencing gastrointestinal problems, having difficulty controlling worry, and having the urge to avoid things that trigger anxiety. Those are the definitions of the three things I have. I can see why my anxiety disorder is mild because I mean, I do have some of those symptoms, but not all of it. Like, it's not, like I said, it's not, I have anxiety about driving on the interstate and I don't want to do it, but I will do it. I have anxiety about flying. I don't want to do it. I haven't done it in a long time, but if I have to, like I will. I'll go like I'm not so much to the point where it's so bad that I won't go through with things. I just really don't want to.
I feel like when it comes to anxiety, I feel like anxiety is my normal. I've never not had it. This is like to me even a little bit of like to me a little bit of anxiety is no anxiety. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I had a little bit of anxiety, that was a no anxiety day. So I don't know. To me, I feel like anxiety is just like my best friend. So
Well, my new therapist says that a little anxiety is good for you. She's like, right, like you don't want to get on the interstate feeling like, oh, we're good. She's like, you got to have a little anxiety so you can be like the normal amount, though, right? So you can at
yeah.
least be aware of what's going on around you and be a little worried. But yeah.
But now that I'm on medication, I don't feel anxiety. And when I do get anxiety, it's normal. Like, oh, like if a car's next to me and they get too close, I get a little anxious, but then it goes away. I don't doesn't linger on for 7 months.
Yeah.
so,
Right.
so what made you finally be like, okay, like the day that you were like, you know what, I'm crazy. Like I mean,
Like like to want to get this diagnosis or before I started therapy that really started the whole journey.
I mean, what really started the whole journey because I feel like that's what kind of led you to get tested too.
Oh, I mean, obviously, I think it's a lot of things over the course of years, but like, what's the straw that broke the camel's back? There was communication between me, my husband, and someone else, and I did not like how that communication like was directed at us, and I was like, I got really upset, and even days after the communication had happened, I could not stop thinking about it. Like, I'm just like, not only was I thinking about what was said over and over, not only was I talking to multiple people about what was said to us over and over, but it also had me worrying about like, what's my future going to be like because of this? And it just felt too big for me to handle on my own anymore.
I love how that was it. Like there was worse shit that happened. And you're like, that's it. That's what's gonna
It's
get
that.
me to do that.
Well, I will say I think it's because that was the first time that I mean, I like I mentioned, I have a hard time letting things go. But normally eventually I can, and I just felt like I couldn't let it go. Like to me this was like the one time that this felt so big and that I felt like it was going to be a reoccurring issue potentially that it was just like too big. I could not let it go.
Okay. Had people in your life ever pointed out that there might be something wrong with you?
Yeah, you. Uh
Like medical. No, medical.
oh,
I mean,
um
besides, before me, before I realized you were crazy, I'm talking about like medical. Like there's something like you have ADHD, you have some kind of problem. Like,
mm, no, but I mean, honestly, I think I mentioned this in a different episode. I have not been to like a consistent like primary doctor or anything like that. I've consistently went to the dentist over the years and maybe they would say something to me like, "Oh, your blood pressure seems a little high." And it would be because I was really nervous in the moment because I had my blood pressure checked other times and it was okay. So like other than them being like, "Oh, if your blood pressure is normally this high, you might want to lower your stress." But like that,
yeah.
no, yeah, that was it.
How was the testing process? Was it easy? Was it easy to? Oh, you found someone because your therapist told you, right?
Yeah, my former therapist, the counseling group that she works with, I don't know if I'd call it like a sister company, but they somehow were affiliated with a place. The other place does therapy as well, but they do testing. I think it seemed like they did a lot of like testing for kids, like for academic purposes, but of course adults can get tested too. And actually, the day I went, there was a lady who looked to be around my age. Who just finished her testing too. Because a lot of women, I don't know what she was getting tested for, of course, but a lot of times when people are diagnosed with ADHD, boys will get diagnosed when they're younger because they're normally being like rowdy and disruptive at school or maybe at home. But girls, not all girls, of course, but they, they're a lot of times if you think about your school experience, I don't know if you can remember that a lot of people have kind of repressed their school experience. If I ask my husband, he can't tell me one thing. He can't even tell me a teacher he had, which I find crazy. But anyway, not the point. Obviously, I was a teacher, so I saw it a lot. Like in general, girls are typically like calmer and enjoy school and want to like please their teacher, where boys aren't like that. So I think a lot of times it can take a lot longer for women to be diagnosed, and a lot of women don't get diagnosed until they're much older, and it starts affecting their adult life when they realize um but okay, back, what did you ask me? Okay, so like, what did you ask me? So yeah, so once my therapist was like, hey, like, it's up to you. You don't have to, but if you want to, it might give us some information to kind of, go with for how we'll, like, what strategies we'll use or whatever. So she suggested a place because she was affiliated with him. Of course, I could have went somewhere else, but I'm like, yeah, okay, like, why not? Why would I not go here? And actually, the whole process caused me anxiety, and I had to talk to my therapist about it because I'm like, y'all, I had to schedule this. It was 2024, technically, and we're 2025 now, but I'm like, it's 2024. Why can't I schedule this online? Because I absolutely despise making phone calls for appointments. Now, I'll call and order food. Isn't that funny? I don't love that either, but I like, that's like, I'll do that right away.
Wow.
But when it comes to like when it comes to like scheduling something like this, I think for me the reason it gave me anxiety was because I feel like I've had to call to schedule stuff before, and they're like, okay, yeah, give us your insurance information, or give us your credit card number, or give us your license, like whatever. They want like the blood of your firstborn sometimes over the phone just to set up a consultation. I'm like, my gosh. So like that process in general, because Nancy used to make my phone calls for me, but now I would say now I'm a grown up. I was a grown up when I met Nancy, but now I'm more of a grown up. So I had to do it myself. But so I had to call and make the appointment. And the first thing I had was a virtual session. I think it was like 30 minutes. It maybe only been like 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. And it was talking with a psychologist. She basically went over like my childhood, all my history, kind of the same thing if anyone out there's ever gone to just therapy in general, like what they call your intake, where they're just kind of like getting to know you and asking you some like questions about like I said, your background, what things are currently affecting you, like your happiness level, all of that. So we did that. And then she actually wasn't even the person who did the testing, though. She was just the person who like gathered the initial information, but she was the same person who gave me the results. I find that so interesting, right? Like the
Mm.
person I actually tested with is not who gave me the results. But I was lucky because these appointments are sometimes hard to get. I guess it depends on where you are and how busy those facilities are, but luckily someone had canceled, so I ended up going to do my testing the same week that I had my like initial intake, and it had to be in person. And then after that, I had to wait. They said it can take up to 8 weeks, and boy oh boy, it was exactly 8 weeks before they finally called to schedule my results conversation, and then I had to wait another week after they called to get that in.
God forbid.
Did you ask me in that question? I know, like I did. It was well. Your whole life you don't know anything, and then somebody says maybe have it, and it's like, and of course as part of my symptoms, like I got to know now.
What was the actual testing process like? Was it what you expected?
I think I would say no, because no and yes, because I'm a crazy person. I like looked up, I tried to research what's it gonna be like, and even asked my good friend Chat GPT, like, what's it gonna be like? And they mentioned like cognitive testing, and I was just like, how is that gonna help anyone determine if I have ADHD? But apparently a lot of things can come up during cognitive testing. But before the in-person testing, so after I had my intake, they sent me and they said I needed one other person. It could be a family member, it could be my husband, it could be a friend, like somebody who knew me really well and would be able to speak to like my kind of like daily habits. So we both took this like online little questionnaire. Think of it like a rating scale type thing, where it's like, 1 or 5. 1 is like hardly ever does it. 5 is like does it all the time, that kind of thing. And it was like 70 something questions. It was a lot of questions. So my husband took that, and so did I. And we scored myself pretty similarly. I think I scored myself higher on most things than he did for me, but obviously he's not with me all day. He's not in my head. He just scored what he saw, but I felt like it was pretty close. And then I had to complete some sentences. They were just like this huge list, like a front and back, maybe 2 pages. I don't even remember anymore, of like fill in the blank. Like, I feel happy when blank. I feel afraid when blank. Like all kinds of stuff. Or my mom, when I think of my mom, or when I think of my hometown, and you just had to like fill in the blank. And they didn't really tell me
Mm.
much about my answers for that. So I don't know what the purpose for that was at all. And then in person, we did cognitive testing. It actually reminded me a lot of what I would have done maybe with students before, like one on one testing with students. Like there were some blocks and they showed me a pattern and I had to copy it. And then I had to look at some pictures and tell a story about them. I had to do some memory work where they would like repeat a sequence of numbers and I had to repeat it to them. Then we had to do it backwards, and then some questions around like vocabulary. I mean, truly just anything you could think of just like some cognitive testing. And they gave me like my IQ scores for each area. And I'm just an average girl. I'm not surprised, but I'll take it. That's fine. And then the final like little thing that I recall doing was on an iPad. And at first I'm like, oh, this is like a game. It's going to be fun. But basically, you would see the number one and you had to tap the screen every time you saw it. And then eventually it would say the number one and you had to tap this little button whenever you heard one. And then they started adding more variables in there, right? Like they added to two, but you weren't supposed to tap when you heard or saw a two. It got crazy. And that went on for like 15 minutes. And at
Oh
first I
my
was like, this is
god.
going to be yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm like, this is gonna fly by. This is gonna be fun. I don't know how long I was in. I was like, oh my god, this is how you torture people. Like I was so ready for that to be over.
At any point during the test were you like, "Oh my god, I totally have this."
No, I don't think so. But I mean, I did notice at one point like that I was like shaking my finger or like wiggling my fingers or shaking my leg, and I'm like, could this be? Is this just anxiety? Is this part of ADHD? I don't know. I mean, it is activity, hyperactivity.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that was the only time I was like, yeah, okay. Otherwise, I'm like, oh no, I know I answered all these questions. I'm probably fine.
No, I'm okay. How did the people around you react when you told them that you were going to get tested?
I don't really remember what my mom said. My mom's kind of thought it was odd that I started therapy in the beginning of it all
I'm trying to remember what your mom said because you told me what your mom said, but I don't remember.
about ADHD.
Yeah.
I don't remember what my mom said, but I mean, she was like, okay.
Okay, honey.
I probably have it in a text message. Wait, I'll pull it up. My mom said to me when I told her I got my results, she said, "Is that what you expected?" And I was like, yeah, pretty much.
Mm.
And she's like, okay, so what now? And so I was like, well, I'm like, I shared this information with my therapist, and we'll go through some strategies and work on it. And she's like, okay, hopefully that will help. Love you. Like that was it. That's how my conversation went. That's how it went with my mom. Now my in-laws, well, I told them I got tested for it, and my father-in-law thought it was very odd. I don't know if he thinks like everybody just gets diagnosed with all kinds of things these days or what it was, but he just I mean, I'm sure he sees I have I have some challenges cuz he mentions how I talk a lot. But I think he thought it was weird that I was getting like he didn't think that I would have ADHD. I don't know what he knows about ADHD. I don't know if my mother-in-law said anything at all. But I did tell them my results, and we always say that, I mean, my husband is not diagnosed with anything, but he has a lot of traits and symptoms of someone on the autism spectrum. But honestly, at this point, I'm starting to believe we might all be on that spectrum too. But I'm trying to find the message. Oh, here we go. So I sent them a screenshot of my results, and my mother-in-law said, "And you married an autistic
Oh
person."
wow.
And my husband's like, "Only the mild tism." And I'm like, "Well, my crazy is mild too, so we'll be okay." And she's like, "That's right. At least you're both mild."
Mild.
So yeah, mild. My friends, I actually just had book club and I announced to
I
like a big group of my
announced it.
friends. I'm
I
just
came out.
I
I
like because
came
I did
out
like
as ADHD.
ex- yeah, pretty much. I was just like, okay, but like we had like a nice little taco bar at my house for like dinner. Then we moved to the living room and I had like my presentation up for book club because that's one of my symptoms
It
probably,
fucking
right?
is.
Like I'm driving that. But I was like, before we get started, I just want to
Here's a
tell everybody,
slide.
like
Here's a
literally,
40-page slide of my ADHD.
Imagine I pulled up all my test results. I'm like, before we get started, let's go through 17 pages of my test results.
I'm surprised you did.
Me too, a little bit, actually. But yeah, I just was like, hey, I'm just like letting you know. Like, they all knew I started therapy. I don't like keep them regularly updated on that kind of thing. But I think I had mentioned, at least to some of them, that I was going to get assessed. So I told them, and one of my friends was like, something like that was, that's your superpower. And I thought that was a cute way to look at it.
I mean, I think the ADHD probably not, but the OCD whatever bullshit definitely.
The OCPD. Yeah.
I wish I had that.
You who knows? Maybe. I mean, you could have some traits of it.
I don't have that.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm a fucking I think I have OCD. I do.
Okay.
But I don't think I have the personality disorder where I overachieve and perfectionism and all that bullshit. Probably in other ways, but
Oh, my husband, I was going to tell you, my children did not seem like they cared at all. They're just like, okay, cool. And my husband did not really say much at all. I mean, I think we already kind of all knew it was going to point to yes, and he was just like, okay, like just very nonchalant, like, all right, cool,
I mean, also you do pull out a lot of fucking shenanigans.
yeah,
So he's just like, this is just the thing of the week.
right, for real,
This is what
for
we're doing
real.
this week. Next week we'll be doing something else.
That's right. That's true.
Has getting the diagnosis changed how you handle your day to day now?
I don't think so. I mean, and I say I don't think so because since I had already pretty much thought that I had it just based on after like I kind of learned more about the symptoms and what it could look like in an adult because I feel like I already knew what it could look like. My son has ADHD. He was diagnosed when he was, in elementary school. And obviously I was a teacher, so I worked with some students with ADHD. So I feel like I knew what it looked like in children, but I didn't know what it looked like in adults. But once I did, I'm like, oh yeah. So I feel like it wasn't really surprising to me. And the things that I had already been implementing to try to just help my life in general, like yoga, I started doing, I mean, I don't do a lot of meditation, but I do some meditation. I need to do it more consistently. Like occasionally I'll journal. Again, I don't do that consistently, but I could. I started walking and exercising. Like all of those things were to help me with stress and anxiety in general. So I think they're already kind of helping me with ADHD. The only thing I can think of that I really changed based on finding out is like some supplements that I'm taking now that are supposed to help. And I feel like they do because I feel pretty what I guess I would call normal.
Um, how does ADHD and OCPD show up in your life in weird ways?
Well, some people might find it weird that I'm saying used to, I don't right now, maybe need to put it back, but I used to have a chore chart on my fridge, like for the adults, not for the children.
Mm.
Just like the stuff we needed to complete within a week, just some basic household
I
chores.
actually really like that.
Yeah, see, it's good. And then I also had another chart.
I'm also fucked up.
Well, it can help. It can help anybody. You can be anything and need a little chart. But I also had a chart that was like for monthly chores, quarterly chores. The problem is, and this is probably because of ADHD, didn't always get to those. Had really good intentions, had it organized and ready to go, and for like a year or so, I mean, lived by it. But I still do my weekly chores for the most part. Sometimes I'm a little late, but how else does it show up? We have, I say we, well, you and I have one too, but I have shared like lists with people. Like Nancy and I have a shared list for our podcast episodes. Although I think you started that, didn't you? Yeah.
I can't remember.
I think you did. But I mean, if you look at my, like, actually I use Google Keep as well. I mean, I have an iPhone, but I use Google Keep as well. And I have lists on there for like everything. I have packing lists for trips. I have lists for the names of my character family on The Sims because I was doing like this 100 baby. Yeah, I was doing this 100 baby challenge, and you can't have babies with the same baby daddy to get to 100. So I had to write down all the kids' last names. So I have that list. It's a big thing. Look on YouTube.
That's a medical fucking condition. That sounds like another test you need to get tested for.
Maybe, but it's a challenge. If you look on YouTube, you'll see a lot of people do that one actually. I don't know. I have like lists like that all over the place. What else about the OCPDs? When I write, like the perfectionism trait that comes out when I'm like literally physically like writing something, not typing it, I get really concerned about how certain letters look, like the number 5, the letter E, the letter S. I don't know why some letters I don't care about, but some letters really bother me. So I'll take way too long to write something, which is probably why I love writing on my iPad because I can obviously erase that. But when I was a child, actually, I would do that as a child. And it took me a long time to write, when you had to write everything with pencil and paper, it took me way too long.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's from this. There's probably more. I mean, we talked about this on an episode before though. Like I tend to interrupt people, especially if it's something I'm excited about, and it's not because I'm trying to be rude. I'm just so excited and want to be engaged in that conversation. But one of the things too is like somebody who like talks a lot, excessive talking. That's me. I can't seem to sit still. Like when my husband and I are watching like a show, I get up several times either to go to the bathroom or to go put my cup back in the kitchen or like I can't stand to just sit still for too long sometimes. However, look, I've been sitting here with you. I don't know what it is. It just some if I feel like I have the freedom to get up and go, like I will. Like like at school though, I didn't have that issue at school. Like I feel like it was a rule because the OCPD is a lot about rules, and I'm like the rule is stay in your seat, do your work, so I could do it. It's not a rule that I have to stay sitting down watching a TV show, but I probably should never tell my husband because he'd make it a rule and then I'd probably have to follow it.
Ah.
Don't tell him.
Um, I'm gonna tell him. I know it's early, it's too soon, but do you think any of the supplements and any of the shit that you're doing for it, do you see any help? Like it's helping?
I mean, yeah, because at least like I'm taking 3 now that are specific for um like for ADHD. One of them's ashwagandha. I've been taking that since January and I feel like maybe that's supposed to help with anxiety too. I can't recall.
It is. I take ashwagandha.
But I do find that I feel calmer. I'm also I don't know if I'm going to pronounce them right, but L-theanine is something for ADHD. I've been only taking it for I don't know a handful of weeks, but I would still say yes. And then there's another one that I cannot remember right now that starts with an M, methionine. Maybe it's L-methionine. I don't know, something like that. I can put in the notes though which ones I'm taking. I'm not telling anyone they should take them. I'm just saying these are the things. Maybe I won't put them in the notes then. If you want to know, if you want to take supplements, just Google which ones are for ADHD. The list is there. But I do feel overall like calmer. I feel like things don't bother me as much. I don't know if that's because I'm also trying to heal or if it's the supplements or maybe it's both. It's probably a combo.
What is something that you wish people understood about ADHD and OCPD?
I feel like a lot of times throughout my life, people have almost, not like in a mean way, but like made fun of me for wanting to be like so organized or wanting to have a list for something. Like I said something to someone recently, like, "Oh, do you have a?" Oh, it was my mother-in-law because they were about to go on a trip, and I think maybe they did forget something, or she last minute remembered and didn't. And I'm like, "What was it on your list?" And she was like, "I don't have a list for packing." I'm like, "You're about to be out of the country for like a week and a half and you don't have a list." Like she didn't make fun of me, but it's like she couldn't even understand why do I need a list for that? Like you just pack up. Like
I've made fun of you.
yeah, you have. Yeah, but I mean, like, no one's been like mean to me about it. But I mean, I feel like my husband, he's like, well, he thinks some of the things I do are a little extreme too. I think people just don't understand like the way my mind is and how everything is or isn't organized in there. Like sometimes I feel like my mind's like chaotic and things are everywhere, and sometimes I feel like things are very organized mentally, and I just like feel better when my space and my like experiences are organized. And I mean, I even had an experience with my last therapist, and that's part of why she's not my therapist anymore. But like to me, from like anxiety, I feel better when I know what to expect. Like I don't have to know every single detail, but like I just give me a little blurb, like the back of a book. I need to know what's going to happen if it's going to be especially if it's going to be something new or scary. And like if I don't get to do if I don't get to do that, like I will be so I'll just think about it forever and ever, and it'll ruin my day. It's like I need to know. I mean, think about it, like the whole thing with the menu. Some people can't understand, why am I so concerned? And it's, I mean, part of it is because I like food, sure, but really that's not even the main part about wanting to know the menu. It's about just like wanting that to be like having your thoughts organized so you're ready to go. Like I have that urgency, that like impulsivity, like let's go. I don't like wait.
I feel like looking back, yeah, we tend to we do talk a lot, we interrupt people, we I feel like our minds go a million miles per hour.
Yeah.
And I feel like that can come off as very egocentric.
Yeah.
Like like we're not listening. I just feel like our minds go so fast and we can't stop our mouths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like our brain doesn't have time to send the message to our mouth to shut the fuck up, basically.
Right, like sometimes we're like saying too much or being too much into the
Yeah.
conversation, but not only that, but like sometimes like I don't even, it's almost like, I guess it's the impulsivity part. Like I probably maybe I don't even want to say something sometimes, and it's already
Me
happened. I'm like, oh
too.
crap, I shouldn't, right? Like I shouldn't have said that. Or what I think hurts me, I say hurts me, but like mostly work related, like I feel the need to say, it's like I say yes right away without thinking something through before I, like, can you take this on? Yeah, sure. Like not even thinking like, okay, what else do I have to do? Do I really have the capacity to take this on this week?
Mhm.
Like I just say yes, impulsive. I'm like, yeah, impulsively, yep, sure. Get it done.
I feel like growing up for me, that the biggest thing was I have always said what's on my mind. I think that has to do part of something with ADHD. Like a lot of people, maybe the autism spectrum too, because they say some mean shit, and they don't even think it's mean because it's true.
Right.
And that was like one of my biggest problems. That I have toned down a lot. Um, but I've noticed right now that I'm on anxiety medication that I don't talk as much as I used to. Like at work, I used to talk a lot more.
Mm.
And now I don't talk as much, and I don't have the anxiety to be talk. I guess because I used to talk a lot about the things I was anxious about
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
my sister-in-law, and now I'm not as anxious as I used to be, so I really don't have a lot to talk about. I'm just like,
Oh. Well, now that you say that, I feel like you and I talk less. I mean, we still talk every day. But do you know what I mean? I think you would talk to me, and a lot of it was about the things you were feeling anxious about. So that makes a lot of sense.
I don't have a lot of anxiety anymore, so now we just talk about the things that matter, I guess. Like everything else, everything else is just bullshit, apparently. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't feel, I don't, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what, we're all just fucked up. The last question that I have is, looking back, do you wish you have gotten tested sooner, or do you feel it happened at the right time?
I wish I would have been tested as a child. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I don't know how prevalent ADHD was. I don't remember. I mean, I remember growing up, people would talk about ADD, right? Like, oh, they're scatterbrained or whatever. I would hear that occasionally. But I feel like I would have liked to have been tested as a child. However, I would have also needed to go to therapy for that. And like, that situation was not going to happen for me. But if it could have, I think it would have been nice, because I think it would have helped me understand some of my like it would have I would have had better tools to go through some challenges. I mean, it's fine. I'm where I am, and I found out when I did. Like it is what it is. But I think it would have been nice to have known for longer and to have been working on it longer. It makes me wonder, like, had I known that and had I had strategies and stuff, would I be this overweight right now? Because I'm very impulsive. I get very,
Mhm.
like, and I go and I do it, and I don't always think about the consequences. I mean, I am now, but
Yeah.
there were many years where I wasn't considering the consequences for things. And I think part of that is like some other trauma and stuff, but I think a big part of it is ADHD.
I mean, I feel like right now I'm remembering your home videos, and I think it was obvious.
I mean, I was very hyperactive, right? Like
Yeah.
talkative, hyperactive. Like I was never sitting still. Like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking back at the few memories I have as a child, and I think it was very obvious for me as well.
Yeah. Well, now I have a question for you. So you mentioned at the beginning that you want you want to get tested and just see, do you see that in your future that something you might do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I probably by the end of the year. I the only reason I don't do it is because every time, remember when I tested for that food sensitivity that drove me over the edge and I gained 60 pounds?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just feel like I need to be mentally ready because I could probably drive me over the edge. But I also don't know, like I wonder how people test when they're already on something that's suppressing all the feelings.
I was that's it
You
that's
know?
literally I was literally about to say, I wonder how being on medication would, affect your results. I have no idea, but I'm sure it's happened. You can't be the first. You're not that unique, right? Like not for this. Like surely that's happened.
And I've actually read a lot about, because I want to go ahead and say I don't promote antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication. I've had anxiety and depression since I was 10 years old. I didn't know what it was until probably when I turned 28. I just thought I don't know what the fuck I thought, honestly, but I just suffered through. I didn't think it was anything. And when I turned 28 and I had my daughter, that's when I started like, oh my God, maybe I have anxiety, maybe I have depression. And then I started working on it. I've been vegan, I've been vegetarian, I've left sugar, I meditate, I've done everything. Okay, people? And it's come to the time, I've come to a turning point in my life that once I had the medication, I knew that there was nothing I was going to be able to do to make it better.
Right.
I don't,
Because, it's like the chemical imbalance, right?
yeah.
What is it that when people are trying to lose weight, right? And people are like, you can't out exercise or you can't outwalk a bad
Mhm.
diet or whatever it is they say. It's almost like that, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't out therapy a chemical imbalance in your brain.
No, and the thing is that I feel great when I feel better when I was off medication. When I wasn't on the medication, I felt better if I was doing like I had to do like 15 things a day to feel normal, but not to have a mild anxiety. And then if I don't do them for like like let's say if I go on vacation and I don't meditate, exercise, journal, um, do all the things, then when I come home, I'm gonna be dysregulated, and all the effort that I'm putting in was not worth the results that I was getting because the results that I were getting were very mild.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm gonna be on it for the rest of my life, but I do feel like if you can't take it anymore, fucking do it. But I don't know where I will like I don't know where I would even test now that I don't feel the same. I mean I'm a normal human. I still get sad. I still get anxiety, but nothing like I used to loop on something for months, months. Like it could be anything. My weight, my looks, my hairline, it didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like something I said to someone like would be in my mind for weeks. In the middle of the night, I would wake up thinking about that one thing I said in 1989. So I just, I don't know. I don't know. I want to get
Well,
tested, but it gives me anxiety to think about getting tested.
yeah. I mean, I wonder if, I mean, obviously we could probably Google this after this podcast episode here, but I mean, maybe the next time you meet with your therapist, you could just say, hey, have you heard of anyone? Like, what do you know about if
Oh,
people
that's
go
where I
get,
was reading. There's my ADHD. So my therapist in
okay.
Google says that people who have aggressive anxiety do better on therapy and with certain things like that, like while they're on a medication, because it allow now I know that, like, let's say like you tell yourself positive affirmations every day because you have like a bad belief about yourself, but when you have aggressive anxiety and you think about crazy shit, you could tell yourself I'm beautiful all day long, but your crazy is going to override that all the time. So now that I'm taking the medication, if I think something, like the other day I tripped over my treadmill in the middle of the night, and I was like, you dumb bitch, if you would have picked it up, this wouldn't have happened to you. And then I thought,
Mm.
then quickly right after that, I was like, you're going through a hard time right now. You'll do better tomorrow. And before it wasn't like that. Before, the negative would override any positive thing I ever said because my crazy could not stop it.
Yeah, and you say that, and I feel like you and I had so many conversations where you noticed the truth, right?
Yeah,
But and you would even say to me like
that's the
XYZ,
truth.
whatever the truth was. But then 20 minutes later, you'll write me like as if you never heard the truth. You know what I mean? Like you already
Yeah.
spiraled so much.
Yes. Yes. And that's the thing. And now, like, let's say I have a negative thought. Like, I'll be like, okay, let's pretend it's about you. I'll be like, Amanda didn't say this, so she doesn't like me. Before, I'd be like, oh, that's probably, before I could have thought about it for weeks, but now I'm like, that's probably not true. Like, I'll have the
Hmm.
thought. I'm still getting crazy thoughts like regular people do. But now, instead of thinking about them for 7 months, I'm like, that's probably not real. And now, when I tell myself something positive, like right now, for the first time ever, I don't hate my body. That's crazy. That's crazy. If God, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of growth for you. Like that's big,
That's all.
you know?
That's called being medicated.
Well, speaking of the medication, I think I told you this when I had to drive into work a few weeks ago. I was listening to this podcast, and it was the Adult Chair podcast, but she was interviewing someone, and I don't remember who she was interviewing, but it was somebody on a different podcast. But they were talking about how so many people will start feeling something and they don't want to they don't want to go through these feelings, so they go instantly to medication, right, and don't even
Hmm.
try to see if it's a thing or not. But like that's truly not the case. Like you said, that is not
No,
the case with you. I mean, you've been out here for years. I mean, your child is what, 8? She's 8, right?
I've been doing this for 8 years, and the thing is that I'm only taking, because I'm prescribed 20 milligrams of Lexapro. I guess it's that aggressive. Most people are on 10, but I'm only taking 5 out of the 20. And I'm still allowing myself to have feelings. I'm still working through everything. I'm still crying on a daily basis. um, and like I said, I'm still working on things. I just needed to quiet it a little bit because if not, like I said, I was never going to be able to override. Like I was never going to be able to heal any of the beliefs I have about myself from because of my childhood trauma, because that negative loop was always in the background, like, no, that's not true, you're a fail, you know what I mean? Like now I can reinforce myself, and maybe I'm thinking that one day when I get off the pills, I'm going to be so reinforced that maybe I will be able to override that crazy voice in my head. And the thing is, the first couple of nights when my mind was quiet, I actually had a mental breakdown. I don't know. I told you, right? I had a mental breakdown about the pills because my crazy was like, no, bitch, you can't leave me. You are not gonna leave
Mhm.
me. Like the first night that I had nothing in my brain because the pills worked. The next morning, I was like, oh my god, this I'm fucking crazy, and there's so many things in my head. And my crazy was like, nope, we can't take that pill again. Nope, we're not doing this. You're not leaving me. How are you gonna leave me? How are you gonna live without me? And yeah, I had a whole ass breakdown.
Right, because it's like when you have lived your whole life
Hmm.
with all this chaos and noise in your brain, and
Hmm.
when that quiets, it feels, that's why, I mean, I
It was
don't think I had
lonely.
the it was all, it was like I don't think I had the exact same situation because obviously you're on, like I'm on some supplements, but I don't know, maybe I did. Like I just remember one day something happened to me, and I'm like, why am I so calm? Like I should really be more worked up about that. Like it's weird to
Yeah.
feel like, it's weird to not be worried. It's weird to not be worked up about something when you're so used to that, when that's your
No,
normal.
it really is. Like I'm telling you, like I went to bed that night in complete silence in my head. I woke up in silence, and then and I was fine. And around 12, I just bursted into tears. I was like, this is what people, this is normal. This is, this is people. Like you people are lucky. But then I was like, I'm gonna miss her. I'm gonna miss that crazy bitch. I'm gonna I want, you know what I mean? Like, and
Well,
then I thought I was gonna lose a part of me.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
It's almost like you're grieving a
yeah.
part of you. I mean, truly. I mean, you know what? After I'm reading this book right now, dang, I wish I had the book. That book about like grief recovery.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
And it talks about not just I'm barely into it, but it's not only for healing grief around like if someone's passed away, but it could be like ending a relationship, or it could be like it gave this list of like some very like you would think normal things, and like actually that's loss, that's grief, and people act like it's not, but it is, and you have to feel like even like moving like from your childhood home or
Hmm.
like
Oh
that
yeah.
can give you, you know. So after I finish reading it, because it's not very long, I'm gonna give it to you. I know you're having a fun
Okay.
read right now, but you know maybe you can grieve who you had to, the part of you you've let go, and
Um,
other stuff, and other stuff.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how long I'll be on the medication, but right now it's looking like for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you because I don't think I could go back.
Yeah.
I just I don't want to. I don't want to worry about something that somebody said 40 years ago for 6 months.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, I don't want to imagine fake fictitious stories in my head about people. I don't want to do any of that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But like I said, I'm not advocating it. I'm always pro. My number one is always the natural way. That's always gonna be my number one.
Yeah, and look, it's not like you're like, okay, cool, now I'm on Lexapro, I'm gonna stop therapy. Like you're still
No,
doing the work, you know, you're still doing the work.
no, and
It's
I'm gonna.
like you have a life vest on now, right? Like you're out in the water,
That's
you were like
exactly
drowning,
what my
but
sister-in-law said.
oh wow, we're in sync. But yeah, it's like now you just have a life vest so you can actually do what you need to do because you don't know how to swim. You
That's
know,
exactly what that literally. That's what my
that's
sister-in-law said.
crazy.
It
Mm.
really is.
So coming up in therapy for you, you're about to do an EMDR session.
Tuesday.
Okay, so I'm hoping that if you're okay with it, maybe our next episode can be me interviewing you about the whole process for EMDR. And you don't have to, it's up to you if you want to talk about what you actually work on there,
Yeah.
but like just the process in general. I think that would, I mean, I think EMDR is a big thing right now. You know, I was about to do it with my former therapist. Our next session was going to be that. And then I ditched her, and it wasn't because I was afraid of the EMDR, but,
She has OCD. She left her.
OCP, my OCPD made me go. No, I'm just kidding. We could talk about.
It might have been the ADHD. Who knows?
I mean, could be my avoidant attachment if I have that too. Who knows, right? But I think it would be really great for our listeners to hear. Like I've had people in my personal life when they knew I was about to do EMDR, which I'm still planning to, but Nancy's going to beat me to it, which is cool because then I can hear about.
Which is weird because you were literally right there.
I
I was
know.
like, I was so excited for you because my therapist wasn't even doing it at the time.
Oh well, look at that.
She just got certified for it.
That's awesome. So yeah, I think it would be really great to hear about your experience with EMDR, like kind of like the whole process, how you got it, you know, all of that, just like we did with this. And I hope that this podcast episode was informative. And if you're out there wondering, like, do I have ADHD? Does my child have ADHD? Like, if you want to find out, I will say this. Testing can be really pricey. I mean, I have, luckily, my insurance did pay for a decent portion of it. At the end of the day, it still cost me a few $100 out of pocket.
Sometimes peace of mind is worth that.
Yeah. So, yeah. And, you know, like I could have still worked, and I still will obviously work on the symptoms, the issues I have with my therapist. I could have done that even without being diagnosed because obviously I'll go and work on the issues. But I do think there are certain techniques and strategies that help specifically when you know what you got going on. So if you want to know, like if you're curious about yourself, like if you're not having any symptoms, like obviously don't go off and get tested just for funsies. But if something's affecting your life and you want to know, if you're not already in therapy, I would say go to therapy first, and then you and your therapist can decide if it's something you need to do. But I'm glad that I did it. I mean, has it changed my life completely to know? Not yet, but it might. But it's definitely given me some insight and into why I act certain ways, and now I just go around telling everybody I have a disorder. So
But you know what? I think it has changed our lives in a way because we're not, I mean, we're not even the same people we were last. I mean, right now to this point, you're like 7 pounds down, and I'm like, okay with my body. Like, that's wow.
you know what? That's a lot for it only to be March in 2025. Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Like that, like I feel like we're just different. Like, we're not even the same people we were
right.
when we started the podcast.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy, but it's good.
No, it's definitely good. So I think it will change your life. We'll see what we should a year later. We should mark it down and do a update of a year later of how your life has changed.
Yep, April 2026. How has my life changed? And maybe by then, well, you said maybe by the end of the year, you'll get tested and we'll just have a whole big update about what our disorders and diagnosis are.
And then we'll see if I'm still on my crazy pills.
True. So y'all come back in a year. Well, stay with us until the year, but for this episode,
Please.
for this episode particularly, come back in a year. But thanks so much for tuning in with us today, and we'll catch you next time. Hey, besties! If you love the chaos, the laughs, and the real talk, don't forget to hit the follow button. Subscribe, share, and tell your friends because bitches be cray, and you know you love it. New episodes drop every other Wednesday, so stay tuned and stay cray. Bye, bitches.